So, hold up. Did Caitlin Clark just go full Kawhi Leonard on the Indiana Fever? Because what's happening in Indianapolis right now is about to shake the entire WNBA to its core. The superstar who single-handedly brought basketball back to life in Indiana has reportedly gone completely rogue, refusing to communicate with her team's medical staff after yet another injury setback. And here's the kicker. She's been spotted having secret meetings with the New York Liberty that has everyone asking one simple question. Is Caitlin Clark already planning her escape from Indiana? Look, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button because we're about to break down why the Indiana Fever might have just lost the best thing that ever happened to their franchise. And trust me, this story gets wilder with every detail. Picture this. Your franchise player, the one who fills arenas like she's throwing a Taylor Swift concert, suddenly stops trusting the very people responsible for keeping her healthy. That's exactly what's happening right now with Caitlin Clark. Sources close to the situation are saying she's completely cut off communication with the Fever's medical team. And honestly, after what we've seen this season, can you really blame her? Let me paint you the full picture here. Caitlin Clark went from being an Iron Woman who never missed a game in college or her rookie WNBA season to suddenly dealing with injury after injury after injury. We're talking 4 separate muscle injuries in one season. 4! That's not normal, folks. That's not bad luck. That's a pattern that screams something is seriously wrong behind the scenes. The breaking point came on July 15th when Clark limped off the court against Connecticut, clutching her right groin in visible frustration. But here's where it gets really interesting. This wasn't just another injury. This was the moment Clark decided enough was enough. According to multiple sources, she told team officials, and I quote, "I'm getting my own doctors. I'm not using our doctors." That's not something you say lightly. That's something you say when trust is completely broken. Now, Stephanie White wants everyone to believe everything is fine. In her latest press conference, she casually mentioned that Clark had gone to New York to see other doctors. But here's the bombshell. White admitted she hadn't even talked to the trainers about what Clark's outside doctors discovered. Think about that for a second. Your superstar player is getting second opinions and won't even share the results with your medical staff? That's not just a red flag. That's a whole parade of red flags marching down Meridian Street. But wait, it gets even more suspicious. Remember how Clark was rushed back from her previous groin injury? She came back, played a few games, and boom, injured again. Holly Rowe even let it slip on the broadcast that Clark had no practice time before returning. No practice time. They threw their franchise player back into game action without proper preparation. If that doesn't make your blood boil, I don't know what will. Let's talk numbers for a second because the stats tell a story that should terrify every Fever fan. Clark has now missed 11 regular season games plus the Commissioner's Cup final. That's nearly half the WNBA season gone because of preventable soft tissue injuries. We're not talking about contact injuries here. We're talking about muscles that keep breaking down because they're not being properly managed. And you know what's even more telling? Clark's body language. After her latest setback, she was visibly emotional, covering her head with a towel and showing clear frustration. This isn't the same confident player who dominated at Iowa. This is someone who feels betrayed by the very organization she's trying to carry on her back. Now, here's where this story takes a turn that should have every Indiana fan sweating bullets. Photos surfaced of Clark and her agent having what looked like a very cozy meeting with Liberty coach Sandy Brondell and stars Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu in the tunnel at Barclays Center. And before you say, "Oh, they're just friends," let me remind you, when your agent is present for a conversation with another team's coaching staff and star players, that's not a friendly chat. That's a business meeting about your future. The timing couldn't be more perfect for New York either. They're the defending champions with a roster built to win now. They have competent medical staff who actually know how to keep their stars healthy. And most importantly, they have an organization that understands how to maximize generational talent instead of trying to stuff it into some predetermined system. But let's address the elephant in the room, Stephanie White's coaching philosophy. Remember when everyone thought hiring White was this massive upgrade over Christy Sides? Well, be careful what you wish for, Indiana, because White seems more interested in turning Clark into a role player in her system than building around a generational talent. White keeps talking about wanting Clark to play off the ball. Off the ball! Can you imagine telling Magic Johnson to play off the ball? Or making Steve Nash stand in the corner while someone else runs the offense? It's basketball malpractice. And it shows a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes Clark special. Here's what's really wild. Christie sides, for all her flaws, at least understood one basic principle. When you have a transcendent talent, you give them the ball and get out of the way. Under sides, Clark broke multiple WNBA records, led the Fever to their first playoff appearance since 2016, and had sold out crowds following them everywhere. The system was simple: let Caitlin cook. But White, she wants to be clever. She wants to run sets and have multiple ball handlers and create different looks. You know what look worked pretty well? The one where Clark had the ball in her hands and made magic happen. That look seemed to work just fine for filling arenas and winning games. The medical mismanagement combined with the coaching philosophy disaster creates a perfect storm for Clark to say, you know what, I'm done. And honestly, who could blame her? She's 23 years old, in her athletic prime, and instead of building a dynasty around her, the Fever are treating her like she's just another player who needs to fit into their grand plan. Let me tell you something that might hurt to hear, Fever fans. Caitlin Clark doesn't need Indianapolis. She's already given them more than they deserve. Sold-out crowds, national television ratings that rival NBA games, jersey sales through the roof, and a relevance they haven't had since Tamika Catchings retired. What has the organization given her in return? A coaching staff that wants to limit her impact, and a medical team she can't trust. The whispers around the league are getting louder. Teams are already positioning themselves for when Clark becomes available. In New York, they're not even trying to hide their interest. When Sandy Brondello said she'd let Clark coach as much as she wanted during the All-Star game, that wasn't just being nice. That was recruitment. That was saying, hey, we respect what you bring to the table. Think about what Clark could do in New York's system. Playing alongside Sabrina Ionescu, getting assists to Brianna Stewart, having Jonquel Jones cleaning up the glass. Not to mention playing in the biggest market in the country, where her star power would reach even greater heights. The Liberty wouldn't try to change her. They'd build around her and create something special. Meanwhile, back in Indiana, White continues to experiment with playing Clark off the ball. The results? Predictably terrible. In the games where they've tried this approach, Clark's effectiveness drops dramatically. The Fever's offense becomes stagnant. And worst of all, it takes the ball out of the hands of the best playmaker in the league. It's like buying a Ferrari and then only driving it in first gear. Here's a stat that should keep Fever management up at night. The team is below 500 without Clark this season. Despite some individual wins, they've shown they're simply not the same team without their superstar. And yet, they continue to mismanage her health and minimize her role when she is available. Make it make sense. The parallels to Kawhi Leonard's situation in San Antonio are impossible to ignore. A superstar loses faith in the medical staff. They seek outside opinions. Communication breaks down. And eventually, they force their way out to a team that actually values their health and contribution. We've seen this movie before, and it doesn't end well for the small market team. What's even more frustrating is that this was all preventable. Proper load management, comprehensive medical care, and a coaching philosophy that maximizes your best player. These aren't revolutionary concepts. These are basic requirements for any professional organization. Yet somehow, the Fever have failed at all three. Dr. Jesse Morse, a respected sports medicine physician, has publicly criticized the Fever's handling of Clark's injuries. When outside medical professionals are calling out your training staff, that's not a good look. It suggests a level of incompetence that goes beyond simple mistakes. This is systematic failure at multiple levels of the organization. The financial implications for Indianapolis are staggering. Clark isn't just a player, she's an economy unto herself. The Fever went from afterthoughts to must-see TV overnight. Merchandise sales exploded, corporate partnerships multiplied. The economic impact on downtown Indianapolis has been measurable and significant. Losing Clark wouldn't just hurt on the court, it would be a financial catastrophe. But here's the thing, none of this matters if you can't keep your star player healthy and happy. And right now, Clark appears to be neither. The constant injuries have clearly taken a mental toll. The coaching decisions have limited her impact. And the medical mismanagement has broken the most important element in any player-team relationship: trust. Indiana fans need to wake up and smell the coffee. This isn't about being negative or pessimistic. This is about recognizing the warning signs before it's too late. When your franchise player stops communicating with team doctors, seeks outside medical opinions, and has meetings with other teams, the writing isn't just on the wall, it's in bright neon letters. The solution seems obvious, yet the Fever appear incapable of implementing it. Fire the medical staff that Clark no longer trusts. Adjust the coaching philosophy to maximize her unique talents. And most importantly, show her that Indianapolis is where she can win championships, not just sell tickets. But will they do it? Based on what we've seen so far, probably not. Organizations rarely make drastic changes until it's too late. They'll continue to insist everything is fine, while their superstar plots her exit strategy. By the time they realize the severity of the situation, Clark will already have one foot out the door. The clock is ticking, Indiana. Every game Clark misses is another step closer to her eventual departure. Every time she's forced to play off the ball is another reason for her to consider other options. And every interaction with the medical staff she no longer trusts pushes her further away from the organization. This isn't hyperbole or clickbait. This is the reality of professional sports in 2025. Players have more power than ever, and they're not afraid to use it. When organizations fail to protect and maximize their talents, those talents find new homes. It's happened before, and it will happen again. For Clark, the equation is simple. She wants to win championships, stay healthy, and play in a system that maximizes her incredible skills. Right now, Indiana is failing on all three fronts. New York, or any other competent organization, would provide all three without question. The saddest part? This should have been the beginning of something special in Indianapolis. Clark had the potential to be the face of the franchise for the next decade plus. She could have brought multiple championships to a city starving for basketball success. Instead, we're watching the slow-motion destruction of what could have been a beautiful partnership. Make no mistake, if Clark leaves, it won't be because she wanted to. It'll be because the Fever forced her hand through incompetence and mismanagement. And when she's winning championships elsewhere while Indiana returns to irrelevance, everyone will know exactly who to blame. The time for action is now, Indianapolis. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Because once Caitlin Clark decides she's done with your organization, there's no coming back from that. And based on everything we're seeing, that decision might already be made. So, hit that like button if you think the Fever need to wake up before it's too late. And subscribe for more updates on this developing story. Because trust me, this is far from over.